Hello and welcome to Talk Spooky to Me, the Ghost Story Guys mail show. I'm Brennan Storr.
I'm Paul Bestel.
And this is our opportunity to hear from you, our listeners. Paul Bestel, my friend, we are speaking early in the morning. I have never seen your smiling face this early in the day unless we are both very hungover and in the same hotel conference room.
Yes, refreshed.
Yes, and we are meeting early because you are going off, we're both going off on adventures, but you're going off on a very cool adventure. I want you to tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, I'm off to one of my favourite places in the UK, which is the northeast of England, Northumberland, and I'm off to Berwick-upon-Tweed, the northernmost town in England that doesn't really think it's in England. So that'll be good.
Yeah, you were telling me they all have Scottish accents.
Yes. Even
though they are, and they're only real, you said they're closer to Edinburgh than they are Newcastle.
Yeah, it's literally the border is within, I don't know, 500 yards. It's on the maps, you can see that the border runs basically halfway in the River Tweed. So you can swim across the River Tweed, if you feel that way inclined, I suppose. And you will swim from one country to another, technically.
That is very cool. I remember being on a drive with a friend of mine in the Lower Mainland years ago, and we found this ditch that essentially, like, the road just ends. There's a ditch, and it says on the other side, America. and I remember thinking, oh, if I get within 5 steps of that thing, I'm going to have holes in me that I didn't have before. Whereas you guys could just hop in the river and go for a swim. Yeah,
very much so. Yeah, I've run into Portugal from Spain, back and forth, going, oh, look at me. You know, so I'm probably going to do that when I get up there as well. I'm going to stand on a bridge with my legs apart going, woo, like some deeply unfunny bastard.
Well, that is the name of the show, The Deeply Unfunny Bastards.
Yes, I've been inspired by my television viewing this week, I think.
Oh dear, what have you been watching?
I've been watching Amazon Prime's new comedy show called Last One Laughing.
Okay. I saw you posting about that on Facebook, but I'm actually not familiar with it.
So they have 10 stand-up comedians and they put them in a room for 6 hours. And the rules are, if you laugh once, you get a yellow card. If you laugh twice, you get a red card and you have to leave. And the last one who goes the longest without laughing wins. And so Basically you've got 10 stand-up comedians trying to make each other laugh with random performances. They have to do like a Joker performance. There'll be special guests, like Danny Dyer turns up as part of their acting training and stuff. And it was quite funny, really. It was very good fun. And 3 of my favourite stand-ups were in it. So it was worth watching, and my favourite one. So it was 3 hours where I basically found myself crying with laughter and my ribs hurt. So I really enjoyed it. Apparently they're doing it all around the world.
Oh, cool.
So that will be quite interesting to see. But I thought it was really well, because it's like 6 half-hour episodes. And it's just some genuinely funny people just trying to make each other laugh to win.
Very cool. All right, I'll have to check that out. As I said, my adventure is not quite as exciting, but I'm still looking forward to it. This afternoon, I'm driving into the city to take advantage of a little bit of a synchronicity that happened, actually. We had on the last Talk Spooky, our listener June mentioned a comedy called Way Downtown, which is a Canadian film shot in 2000 in this warren of liminal tunnels in Calgary. And I'd never heard of it. June said, if you want to see it, it's on YouTube. But as it turns out, today, they are showing Way Downtown at the Review Cinema on 35mm in Toronto with a cast, one of the cast and the director present for a Q&A. So I thought, well, that kind of timing you cannot ignore. To have this film just randomly dropped onto our radar, and then suddenly it's playing somewhere. I thought, well, okay, I got to go see that shit. So, and it is National Canadian Film Day. So the screening is free, and I managed to snag one of the last seats. So I'm very, very excited.
It's been a strange week of highs and lows. As I mentioned, Last One Laughing was an extreme high. I seem to have been chased this week on the internet by one of the worst films I've ever seen, and I'd forgotten most of it. Have you ever seen a film from the 90s called Chairman of the Board?
Oh, the Carrot Top film.
I'd forgotten about that man and his shit humour.
There were a couple comedies from that period that when you watch them, you think, what money laundering took place in order for this to get financed? The other one is Freddy Got Fingered with Tom Green. I'm not going to describe it here, folks, but you know what? Again, it's out there streaming. And if you want to damage yourself or if you want to know why some of the folks roughly my age are the way we are, go watch Freddy Got Fingered. That'll teach you some stuff.
Yeah, MTV has a lot to answer for in the 90s.
They sure do. And I think Tom Green is Canadian, so that kind of brings us back home. I'm not proud of it, but here we are. All right. Well, on this episode, we are not here to delve into the nightmare that was comedy in the 2000s. That would be a whole other podcast. But we are here to answer listener mail.
Our courteous and efficient staff is on call 24 hours a day to serve all your supernatural elimination needs.
We're ready to believe you.
All right, so just we got a couple quick ones to start. Well, I guess one of them's not going to be quick, but we'll start with a quick one. Dominic on Spotify says, I love how you casually threw Antonioni's name in there. Zabriskie Point was my favorite movie for years. And Paul and I were talking, I think he mentioned the film Blow Up. And I have to be totally honest, Dominic, I know who Antonioni is. I've never seen any of his films. I am a very bad film nerd that way. I have these vast gaps in my knowledge. It's like Hitchcock. I've never seen most Hitchcock films. I've seen The Birds, I've seen Psycho, and I think I saw Vertigo. But generally speaking, I have these huge, I've seen Evil Bong and Evil Bong 2 and 3. And Evil Bong
Puppet
versus
Master
Ginger
versus
Dead
Demonic
Man.
Toys.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've seen, I've seen a number of Bigfoot films, but I've never seen anything by, was it Ozu? So yeah, I know the things, but at the same time, I probably shouldn't be too proud.
I can't believe you've not even seen the best Hitchcock film.
Which one's that?
North by Northwest.
I know. Yeah, like I said, this huge gulf in my classic film knowledge. Maybe Hitchcock should have made a Ginger Dead Man film.
So, next up, The Hot Mess writes to us, apparently, I was living under a rock because Aerosmith has now been ruined for me. They had always been my band. My dad and I first found common ground on. Now I feel dirty supporting them. And so you should.
I don't know. I said to The Hot Mess, like, this was another Spotify comment. I replied and said, the thing is, it's sometimes you have to separate the art from the artist when you have like that emotional connection to it.
Yes.
Because like obviously these are good times you had with your dad, and you don't want to sour those. But and honestly, a lot of famous people are pieces of shit. This is kind of something you got to contend with. Like a lot of your favorite artists are garbage. Like that's how they got to the top of their industry, by being pieces of shit. So I mean, it's like, the less we know sometimes about these people, the better. I mean, obviously in some cases, like with P. Diddy, better we know than not know. Yeah, exactly.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, if only. I mean, once they finish entombing him at the center of the earth, everyone will be much better off.
What they want to do is lock him up with R. Kelly, and so they can just piss on each other.
Again, put him at the center of the earth like Doomsday. But yeah, that's, as I say, it sucks, but at the same time, you can still enjoy those moments, enjoy those memories. I mean, if you got CDs, listen to them. Just enjoy what you enjoy, and just don't buy any more of their records.
Who isn't problematic? Rush. That's who you should be listening to.
And Marina Diamandis.
Yes.
I listened to that new single yesterday that you told me about. Holy shit, that's amazing.
It's a banger.
Oh my God. And then I started listening to her, is it Bubblegum Bitch?
Yeah.
Or whatever that album is. I started listening to that just, in order. And it also is a series of bangers.
Yeah. Her last album, she released an album during the pandemic in 2020, which was amazing.
Okay, I'll have to listen to that next.
This is her first album for 5 years.
No, it is a great tune. Actually, in fact, I took another one of your music recommendations. When Nick and I drove up Island, we listened to Simple Minds live from the City of Light. And no, that was also another great record. Yeah,
a band at the peak of their powers, Paris, 1986, I think that was recorded.
Oh, yeah, it's a great fucking album.
Yeah, it's an immense album, that. And it's brilliant, because there's a film with it as well.
Oh, okay.
Incredible. They had a real thing for Paris for some reason.
I mean, I have a real thing for Paris, so I get it.
But yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah, Simple Minds from 81 to 87 are immense.
Next up, we have a message from Brandy, also on Spotify. Brandy says, there's speculation the uncanny valley could have evolved from ancestors like Homo erectus, who existed during a time when there were several others similar but not exactly the same hominids. By the way, as someone who loves spiders and once considered keeping an orchard orb weaver as a pet, the Thailand story makes me want to die. I couldn't handle a stampede of 1 fucktillion spiders approaching my direction.
Could have been worse. Could have been a sturgeon.
Yeah, even on the land, I wouldn't want to take one of those fuckers on. I do think that's interesting about the uncanny valley. This idea that, like there was something that was just enough like us that we had to be worried. Of course, I've also heard this referred to as, proof of a certain other adjacent society of people are out there who look, enough like us to fool us. But they whooped our ass on the last episode, so I'm going to keep my mouth shut.
See, you're safe with the lizard people. They're quite ambivalent to any criticism.
That's why David Icke picked them specifically. He's like, I can talk whatever shit I want about these guys, and they just don't care.
They're too busy running that airport. They don't give a shit.
I tell you, when you said run the, I'm like, has Paul been listening to Alex Jones? Where's this going? Yikes.
Pax Thalia comments on our Spirits of the Earth episode. Where I live, my attitudes earn me titles like hippy dippy at best and effing Marxist. That's at worst. Join the club. I'm with you both in regards to our disconnect from the natural world. Maybe I'm over-biased because I'm a pagan and I regard the Earth as my mother. Anyway, thank you for putting your voices out there. I really like this episode. It helps me feel that I am not alone.
Pax Thalia, thanks for commenting. What I tried to do is, because we do sometimes get people commenting on old episodes on Spotify, and I like to put those in as much as possible, just because I think it's super cool when people are going through the catalog. I mean, there are definitely times where people will comment on like old episodes and they'll like argue a point or something. And I'm like, man, that was 8 years ago. I don't fucking remember what I said. I have no idea. Did I say something stupid? Yeah, maybe, because it was 8 years ago and I was a lot fucking dumber 8 years ago. No, I'm not going to apologize personally to you for it, because tough shit. That was 8 years ago. But yeah, like I remember someone, there was a joke we made, a political joke in the very first episode, which is not something we went on to do very often. But every now and again, some tender-hearted dipshit will still go, oh, I can't believe you're this person. Unfollow. Motherfucker, who cares? You listen to one episode. And again, you listen to the very first episode. If you judge a podcast, a 9-year-old podcast, on the basis of the very first episode, I don't know what to do for you. But
exorcism.
Yeah. Yeah. Funny you say that. We have an exorcism-themed email coming up.
Yes.
So next up, we have a message from Keith. And this is a follow-up. Keith says, how's it going? Hope this email finds you well. So this is something up Paul's street. The story below you read out before around April 2023. It may have been on your episode before the Black Dog episode. Now, the second experience in the below experiences involved what my wife said was a flying jellyfish type object with tentacles that are typically associated with jellyfish. She thought she was going daft, and even more so retelling it. Well, basically, my wife was on YouTube a couple weeks back, and a video caught her attention regarding flying jellyfish type objects. Apparently, these objects have been reported near or around areas of military bases. Burton-on-Trent has a machine gun infantry platoon, I believe, which is around 10 miles from us as the crow flies. Do you think that's relevant? I don't know, but it's interesting. Wondering if Paul has come across these sightings lately. The other part to this email is regarding the third experience, in which she says an ape-like creature ran across the road in front of her, which made me think, in regards to listening to Paul, seems to be along the lines of a shug monkey. So she has seen this again around the same area, but this time she said it seemed to appear in the road slightly translucent, then ran up the side of a pub. She said it was around late evening, but not dark enough for headlights. She said around 50 yards in front, but instantly related the shape to the previous experience with this creature. And so, Paul, I'm really curious. Have you heard stories like these before? I'm actually also, I don't know what a shug monkey is.
I am aware of these. Have been reported all around the world since the 1940s.
The jellyfish or the monkey thing?
The jellyfish.
Oh, okay.
Keel talks about them. Ivan T. Sanderson mentioned them. A very famous incident that happened in the Netherlands where there's a photographic evidence of it. I have to say I'm a bit dubious about that particular one. There was a famous incident in China that was witnessed by over 100 people and some Chinese Air Force pilots. It's a very rarely but widely reported situation. So they are well known if you look for them. They're kind of like a real sort of fringe part of society in regards to both ufology and cryptozoology. Nobody's really sure if it's a spacecraft or a creature.
Interesting. How strange. I feel like it's ringing some kind of muted bell with me, but I don't know why.
David Weatherly covers one in one of his state books, which is a remarkable case of someone coming across one that seemed to be injured, and then others come for it.
Oh.
And I can't remember which state book that's in, but it's been reported in the US as well. But that's a very close encounter because someone actually saw one and it looked like it was bleeding. It was bleeding out and some fluid was coming out of it, and then some others came for it.
Holy shit. Well, actually, you know what that does remind me of? That reminds me of Trevor James. The ultraviolet photography he claimed to have done in the desert back in the 60s.
Yes.
Because he claimed to have captured what he thought were like atmospheric animals. How odd.
Yeah, well, some people have used that hypothesis to explain how people just vanish into thin air, that something from above has come and slurped them up.
Oh, that's a fucking terrifying thought.
Yes. That's why we don't want to think about that.
No. Fuck. You know, thoughts like that always remind me of the movie Dark Skies, which scared the shit. It still actually, I think, is very an underrated a sci-fi horror film, where just the J.K. Simmons character says something to the effect of like, they've been here for a very long time and they can do whatever they want to us and there's fuck all we can do about it. And that is just, that is true cosmic horror. Yes.
And shug monkeys, yes, that's a strange one.
Yeah, hit me. That sounds like some kind of terrible slur.
Well, the shug monkey is a very regionally based monster. It's in Cambridgeshire, and is essentially a dog creature with the face of a monkey.
Oh.
And there's been sporadic sightings of that over the last 100 years, including a policeman, I believe, was one of the witnesses. So it's a very unique looking creature. Some people consider it part of the black dog folklore, and others consider it just to be a weird thing.
I mean, do sightings go back far enough to reasonably sort of lump it in with the black dog lore?
Well, I think it's sort of late 19th century into the 20th century.
Okay.
In regards to sightings or when it's been recorded. I think it was certainly well known enough in the 40s and 50s to be included in a few local folklore and mystery books.
Interesting. So I forgot to include this, but Keith actually included their location. I just forgot to paste that part of it. He asked us not to share it on air, but I'm going to show you, and I kind of want to get a sense if that is roughly in the right area.
Yeah, it's a bit far away. I mean, that is black dog territory rather than shug monkey territory.
Fascinating.
Have a sec. I'm sure there is a black dog. Yes. Is known for black dog sightings. So it has a history of shugs.
Interesting. So that certainly points to some connection between those things.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Well, Keith, I hope that provides some insight to you, because it seems like, yeah, there's something to this. I think it's fascinating his wife has seen it twice.
I mean, there are sporadic sightings, but yeah, that particular location has a long history of such sightings in that area. But once again, like sandwiches, they're called everything different wherever, depending where you live in the British Isles. Carson Mitchell Penner responds in regards to our All Aboard the Dream Train episode. Toaster strudels are 100% better than Pop-Tarts. Well, it's a bit like saying, do you like brown dust or grey dust?
And the ghost story, guys, is over. It's over. That's it. I will not take someone impugning the good name of Pop-Tarts. Again, toaster strudels are garbage that should have been left back in the 90s and 2000s, along with those terrible, Pizza Pocket commercials that put me off that product completely. But Pop-Tarts are a national treasure. They are a North American cultural institution, and to impugn them, well, let's just say, when they're done pushing everyone out of Florida, they're coming for the Pop-Tart haters next.
That's a hill I'd die on. I had a Pop-Tart once, and it's exactly the kind of explanation I can understand for why aliens haven't shown themselves to us.
Well, Mom and Dad are going to have a fight. So you guys just sit tight. We're going to take a quick ad break, and we'll be right back.
Have some hot, tasteless, fruit-based snack.
There's no fruit in there. Come on. Fruit inspired. Fruit inspired.
Sandy writes, "Hey, Paul and Brennan. Hope you two are still getting enough sleep. On the episode Long-Time Lurker, Talk Spooky to Me, one of your listeners wondered if aphantasia could be responsible for sudden visualizations that could be interpreted as a time slip. My husband has this condition, one that we only figured out a couple of years ago, and I've known him for over 40 years, and I asked his thoughts on this. His opinion is that if his surroundings suddenly shifted into another era or a ghostly sighting, it would be terrifying. He's never experienced a visualization and rarely remembers his dreams. We know that scientists are really starting to just explore the brain, but from what he has read so far, his aphantasia will not change at all. We found out about his condition several years ago whilst watching a TED talk about it. It was followed by, 'What do you mean you can't see it?' and 'What do you mean you can see it?' type conversations. Take care, Sandy."
It's funny. I was just having this conversation with someone on Instagram. I can't remember who, so apologies. It was one of our listeners, but I told this person I was really kind of surprised when I found out about aphantasia. Because kind of like the synesthesia thing, where I get pictures with tastes and smells and stuff. I didn't realize not everyone could do that. I thought that was just an everyone thing. And so when I found out that other people can't, for example, they can't mentally hear someone else speaking in their voice if they haven't already heard them say those things. And so I was just like, oh, I thought everyone could do this. So when I found out, actually from Nick, because Nick has aphantasia, that she can't visualize shit, I was like, what? And then I learned, no, it's just a thing. And again, completely caught me off guard.
Concepts like that are quite odd, aren't they? Because like you say, we all presume that we're wired up the same, but clearly we're not. And this seems to be something that's far more prevalent than people understand.
Like, I don't know, is it something that can be resolved, or is it just a static state kind of condition?
I don't know. I mean, the human brain's a very strange thing. I was watching something last week where they were talking about a very famous case, and I forgot the gentleman's name, so I do apologise. And he was deaf and blind, and he was struck by lightning, and he obviously didn't feel very good after it happened. and went back inside to kind of get on his bed and come round a bit, and as he laid there, he suddenly realised that he could see everything again. They gave him a brain scan, and they worked out that somehow the lightning had reconfigured the circuitry in his brain and had reconnected his eyes. Also, improved his hearing, so he no longer needed hearing aids, and his hair started to grow back because he was bald.
Okay, so I should be going out with a golf club next time it storms.
So, I don't know. And there are pictures. This happened fairly, about 40 years ago. So there are pictures of him before and after with like big glasses and stuff on. So they're not really sure what caused it, really.
That was our first superhero, is what that was.
Something like that. It's a remarkable case, and I do apologise to the gentleman, because he's up there with that forestry work, park ranger or wherever he was, who got struck 7 times.
7 times?
And he survived every one. I believe even his headstone, when he died and he was buried, even his headstone's been struck.
Wow. That is a man who pissed off the fates.
Well, you could say that, or you could say he was extremely lucky.
Or that, or God is just like, fuck this guy in particular, and he keeps trying to put him down and he just can't. Because he's our second superhero. Because
technically, if you get struck by lightning, you should die.
Yep.
But there's all kinds of stuff happen. It changes people's brain patterns, it changes their abilities, it changes their skill set, it gives them different abilities in making them more artistic and the like. And then, like I say, some people suddenly recover from being blind and deaf. So who knows what's going on?
All we can say, folks, is don't piss off lightning. That seems like the safest bet. It is more likely to kill you than it is to give you superpowers. But then, who knows? Maybe you'll be one of the lucky ones, chosen by Zeus to carry his legacy forward.
Well, as long as Zeus doesn't turn up in my house as an animal, then that's fine.
Yeah, let's not dwell on that particular part of the legend. Boy, that's one sexy bull. I'm sorry?
What?
Say that again out loud. He appeared as a bull and walk me through the rest of this. I want you to hear it.
He was a beautiful swan. I'm sorry.
Yeah, this not improving the situation.
Things like that are illegal in this country. Sickos.
Greek mythology existed at a time when people weren't asking a lot of questions.
Can it swim? Oh, then we'll fuck it.
Our final message comes from Charles. And this is a fun one. Charles says, "Hey guys, love your show. I'm all about things that are paranormal and spooky. But guess what? I'm 55 years old and have never, ever encountered the paranormal. My dad was a Pentecostal minister. I grew up in church and in a very strict home. Talk of angels and demons, heaven and hell, walking with Jesus was as commonplace in my home as sunshine. So, I was taught from 3 years old on up that there were forces of good and evil at work all the time in the world. Forces like demonic possession. One thing I did get as a child was tons of fear. Fear of sinning, fear of exposing myself by thought or action to the devil who would gobble me up amid my transgression, and I would be lost to the flames of hell forever and ever. Now, I don't care who you are, that's some scary stuff for a child. It terrified me, absolutely. So, as an impressionable small child, I was under the impression that should I tell a lie or fight with someone on the playground, or say a bad word or whatever else kids do, that I could end up like the little girl in The Exorcist, possessed and tormented by Satan and having my head spin like a top and so on and so forth. I can't even tell you how horrified I was by that thought and that movie. I remember seeing it at a relative's house and being utterly traumatized. Traumatized. No one bothered to mention to me that no, if you say a bad word or think a bad thought, the devil isn't going to possess you and make you evil. You could probably do even 2 or 3 bad things in a row and you're not going to have to worry about demonic infestation. So I grew up and grew out of the fear that the devil was going to get me for the smallest of infractions. One thing I didn't grow out of, though, was my aversion to The Exorcist. For me, it just represents every fear I ever experienced as a child. I could sit through some crap, guys. Violent, bloody, weird, twisted, bring it on. But put The Exorcist on and I'm going to nope out in 30 minutes or less. It just makes me feel that much anxiety and dread. Those close to me know this eccentricity and love to tease the hell out of me about it. I went to Comic-Con in Kansas City in March of 2019. I love going there. I love it. I go whenever I have the money. It just so happened that at Comic-Con 2019, Linda Blair was there. She, of course, played the little possessed girl in The Exorcist. When I found out she was a guest, I thought, oh my God, what would it be like to meet her after being scared by her portrayal in The Exorcists all these years? I entertained the idea for like 2.5 seconds. Then I laughed it off and I thought it was that. On the last day of the convention, however, I saw her signing pics at her booth and interacting with fans. And this, gentlemen, is my story of how living an entire lifetime without a single paranormal event happening to me, I had to settle instead, much to my horror, for pissing off the most famous possessed person of all time. I bought a ticket to take a picture with her first. When it was my turn, I was ushered into a little room where she stood waiting, photographer at the ready, and all that. At Comic-Con, it's go, 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 because it's usually packed. Anyways, I came in, stopped on the X they have on the floor, she came up beside me and we took the pic. I said, thank you, and she walked a few steps with me and I said, you've scared me since I was a kid, and we both laughed. She said, please come by my booth and tell me all about it. And then I was guided away so the process could continue. As I mentioned earlier, it was the last day of the convention, and the crowd had really thinned out. Even though I knew she was being courteous, I thought, I'm going to buy a picture and say hello. That was really fun to see her. She had been warm and friendly, and I just liked the idea. So when she was scheduled to be at her booth again, I showed up and got in line. A word here about Comic-Con and Linda Blair. Comic-Con is a blast, but you spend ungodly amounts of time waiting for your turn to get an autograph, and you can say a few words, but they better be a few because lots of people are waiting. It's my practice to get my autograph, say thank you for your time, I love your work, and be about my business. Guys, that's really all these folks have time to listen to and to make an intelligible response to. So in regards to Linda Blair, I want to say I respect her and I don't want to misrepresent her or demonize her in any way, but we had a severe miscommunication and this is how it went down. She didn't have a gaggle of people waiting for her autograph. The line was pretty short. So I got to my turn and she greeted me with a smile and took my picture and signed it and said, "Okay, Charles, tell me how I scared you. I can't wait to hear." I said, "Well, a lot actually. I grew up in a very strict, very religious home." I didn't get any further than that and I saw her flinch. I said, "So I probably took that movie to heart more than most. I'm 50 years old now and that movie still bothers me. I can't sit through it actually. So I was really curious from a unique vantage point what it feels like to when people come up to you, older people like me, and tell you that your portrayal in that film is the stuff of nightmares." Guys, if that's not what I said to her, or if that's not what she heard, that's what I meant. I saw her just ice over. She said, "Excuse me?" I said, "Well, The Exorcist has had a profound effect on people, young and old, and I was just curious what it's like to be told stuff like that." She said, "Look, if you've got problems, you need to talk to a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I'm an actress. I act. That's all I do. I pretend. I can't help you with your damn problems." I was gobsmacked. I mean, I thought it sounded like a legit question. And I tried to explain that I didn't have any problems, but she was already standing up. She called to somebody and nodded in my direction. Next thing I knew, there were these two hulking dudes coming my way with foreheads the size of drive-in movie screens. I said, oh, wait a minute now. This isn't necessary. I think you've misunderstood me." She just turned and walked out of her booth, and these guys, obviously security, they were like, "Come on, she just want to talk to you. You need to leave her alone and come with us." I didn't want to leave the convention. I still had things I wanted to do, so I went along. They marched me out a good ways from the booth area where she'd been. Then one said, "See where you're standing? You don't get any closer than this to her booth. You got it?" I said, "Absolutely." They turned around and walked off. So that's my highly embarrassing, strange, and totally unparanormal of how I pissed off the Exorcist girl, and I still don't totally know why. Best regards and good vibes to you, Charles from Kansas.
Well, I can only presume that she's obviously got a default setting that somebody mentions religion and she just goes, "No."
Again, Charles, it seemed like your intentions were pretty solid, but
Yeah.
and he seems to understand that these people see so many people in a day, and as you said, probably get a lot, especially Linda, get a lot of have had over the years a lot of very strange comments from people with backgrounds that are sort of at odds with the film. And I think you're right. There's just sort of an armor comes down and like, nope, I'm out of here, because that situation has probably gone really bad before.
Yeah. Oh, at 100%. I will guarantee that that's some kind of trauma that she's had to go through. Because if you know anything about The Exorcist, some of the stuff that she was accused of is absolutely outrageous. You know, at the end of the day, she was a child when she was in that film and she didn't have a bad experience making it, contrary to what people would like to tell about her and her life. So it's, I'd feel sorry for you, Charles. It's the kind of thing that you obviously just trying to have a genuine conversation with someone, but unfortunately people before you have spoilt it.
Yeah, no, that's it. Funny enough, Charles, I can sympathize with this because I once pissed off Lou Ferrigno, and I didn't mean to. I don't even still know to this day what happened. I was just making conversation with a guy. He was standing alone at his table, and this is at the Mr. Olympia convention in 2011. And I just thought, well, shit, that's Lou Ferrigno. I've got nothing better to do. It seems like he's got nothing better to do. I'll go say hi. And oh man, no, he was, I don't know. We didn't get very far into it. I know he's hard of hearing and it was quite loud. So I don't know if I wasn't speaking loudly enough, and he just, cause he kind of just went, ugh, and sort of waved his hand, like give me this very disgusted look and sort of waved his hands. And so I thought, okay, well, I'll leave you alone, man. But he was very polite when I got there. And again, it changed very suddenly for reasons I couldn't understand. I would have even bought a picture, but back then that was something I probably would have done. But yeah, I don't know. It was, but I was like, fuck, well, okay, moving on.
Did you say to him, "Do you even lift, bro?" Or, "When you played the Hulk, I could see those things on your feet."
Edward Norton's a better Hulk. He just fucking punches me right in the face, and I would deserve it too, honestly.
Ang Lee's Hulk's the best version.
For that, he might have murdered me.
I'd murder you. Jesus.
Oh man, yeah, no, that sucks, Charles. Again, but I think you got the right take on it. It's just a human miscommunication. And it happens, like I know we've got a couple folks who listen to the show who do signings at conventions, and it's a treadmill, man. Like you're dealing with a lot of people. That's a lot of like social capital you're kind of having to use up. Like the thought of it exhausts me to have like at least a reasonably genuine interaction with every single person who comes up there, and to give them the moment that they paid to have.
Yes.
And in some cases paid quite a bit. I mean, like Sylvester Stallone, I remember at New York Comic Con, he was charging $400 for an autographed photo. And like, never, I wouldn't pay for an autograph at this point. Anyways, just because that's not who I am. I don't collect that kind of thing. But, to like, how do you, even if it's $40 or $80 or $100, like, how do you make sure that person is kind of getting what they've come for? I can't even begin to wrap my head around it.
Yes. I mean, that's often the thing, isn't it? And I mean, the other aspect of it is you will always get certain people who must be asked the same question hundreds of times a day. And you just, or someone's so invested in something that they think that particular actor is entirely responsible for every part of the program that they may have umbrage with. Fandoms are weird.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, like there were 2 occasions in Revelstoke where we had famous people come through, and there was one time where people were more or less normal, and there was another time where they were just fucking lunatics. And I can't imagine having to enter into a situation, be that person entering into a situation and be like, okay, is this person going to be cool, or are they going to be a madman? Ryan Reynolds and Scarlett Johansson had breakfast at this place on Main Street. And honestly, I think if they had enough room on the patio, they probably would have bronzed that fucking table. But they were cool about it. They by and large, as I understand it, they were kind of left to their own devices. But then James Brolin and Barbara Streisand were in the grocery store. And from what I understand, Barbara Streisand legged it like the Running Man because some woman started screaming like an air raid siren. Not, oh, hey, there's Barbara Streisand, just like, oh, the towers are coming down. We have to alert everyone in a 10-mile radius.
The beacon.
Yeah, exactly. I can't imagine being in that situation. That sounds fucking awful. Like, I love that people like listen to what we do and that we love what we do. But man, I don't ever want people to react to me like that. I don't ever want to be like, oh my God, that guy, because I just want to live my fucking life, man.
Yeah, I'd be quite worried if someone just came up screaming at me. I'd be thinking back through my life. And I'd be like, okay, let's try and take a moment here and let's try and unpick some locked memory from 1998.
Oh my God, you're Paul. Look, I was a different person back then. I'm really sorry. Oh, you like my show? Okay. Oh, yeah. Oof.
It's nothing worse when somebody says, hey, how are you doing and all that, and you make small talk with them, and then about 30 minutes later you remember who they are. Or perhaps I should have been a bit more attentive, because clearly their memory of me is far better than my memory of them. And they obviously remembered an incident a lot more positively than I did, because I clearly just pushed it as far out of my head as I possibly could. And literally, 30 minutes later I was sat having a drink somewhere else and I went, that's where she's from. Oh.
For you, it was the greatest day of your life. For Vestal, it was Tuesday.
I think it was the evening later on turned into something else, and therefore on a collection of memories that was further down after in regards to what occurred afterwards with other incidents at that particular gathering. So that's probably why. But still, I wasn't proud of not remembering that.
So, Charles, many sympathies. Again, I'm sure Linda has forgotten it entirely, if that helps, because no doubt she has an ocean of such experiences. But thank you for sharing it with us, man. That was a lot of fun. And again, I think it's cool that you have enough perspective to be cool about it, because I think a lot of people would just walk away from that very upset that their moment was ruined. So I respect that you're able to be like, yeah, okay, I miscommunicated. It didn't work out. And sometimes that happens. But Linda Blair, you ever want to come on the show? Hit us up. Talk about whatever the fuck you want. We don't have to talk about The Exorcist. That shit was 50 years ago. We can talk about whatever you want.
We can talk about Repossessed with Leslie Nielsen.
There we go. Yeah. All right. Well, again, thank you to everyone who wrote in the comments and emails for this Talk Spooky. And if you want to send something in, ghoststoryguys@gmail.com is probably the best way to do it. But again, we do collect stuff from Instagram, where we're the Ghost Story Guys. We're going to be pulling some stuff for Reddit for the next episode. I just had to prep the script quickly, so we didn't have time to do it this time. That's r/Ghost Story Guys podcast. We're on Facebook as Ghost Story Guys Finally Made a Group. And I think that's it. That's enough. And we're on YouTube, of course, as well. You'll find links to all that in the show notes. Paul, my friend, where can everyone find you online?
You can find Mysteries and Monsters across all podcast sites and most social media networks.
Fabulous. I'm Largely the Truth on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Letterboxd. And you can find my horror fiction show, Fear Daily, everywhere fine podcasts live. And of course, it would not be Talk Spooky if we did share a new piece of music with you. This time around, we're featuring a track from the band West Street Children. The song is Lawless Town from the latest album, Calling 1991. If you like what you hear, check out more from West Street Children by following the link in the show notes or by searching for West Street Children everywhere you stream your music. Thanks again for listening, guys. Again, we cannot tell you how much we appreciate every single one of you. And don't forget, if you don't want to have to listen to ads, become a paid subscriber for as little as $1 a month over at patreon.com/ghoststoryguys or by clicking the link in the show notes. We will see you next week for episode 213, but until then, we will leave you with West Street Children and Lawless.